What's the weirdest thing you've overheard someone say in public? Heard a woman quietly cussing out her daughter at a train station, calling her a bee and a slut. Daughter couldn't have been older than 12. She was just taking it in, staring straight ahead, completely silent. Listen, I know Jim is homeless, but that doesn't mean he can poop on my lawn. I'll talk to him. I was in line for a scary ride at a theme park. A little boy was in the row next to me, in hysterics about not wanting to get on. His father was visibly angry, kept calling the boy a PSY, and telling him to man up. It was the first time they had gone, when the boy was tall enough to ride, but it was clear he wasn't mature enough to actually enjoy it. When it came time for them to board, the man dragged the kid to his seat and buckled him in, while the kid was screaming. Why they didn't remove them both I'll never understand. My daughter just had a baby. I must go over and visit, and poison their dog. Super late night with a friend at a McDonald's. Guy behind us talking to the woman across from him. 24 inches of pure power. Continues describing the horse porn he had enjoyed so much. Grand Slam came soon after. Don't remember anything beyond that. About 5 years ago I was working at a car dealership. Elderly man and middle-aged man are sitting at a table in the lounge area near my counter. Younger says to the older, "You don't need any of that stuff. The doctors are just trying to take all your money. When it's your time, it's your time." Salesman comes over and greets the old man a moment later and says, "Let's get these papers signed, and your son can drive you home in his new truck." I don't do the story justice, but once I realized this young guy was getting his dad to buy him a new truck at the same time trying to not have him get medical treatment, I was sad and angry. At a soccer match during high school, random girl was yelling at her boyfriend when she screams out, "I'll F your dad," and give him a child he actually loves. I don't think their relationship survived. Once on a train, I heard a woman talking at length to her friend about how her on-again, off-again boyfriend of 11 years had gotten married during one of their off periods, but had it annulled just days later, and also had a tattoo of another woman's name from years ago. She even mentioned that he drove with that arm out the window to try to fade the tattoo. She was peeved that he married one woman, got a tattoo of another one's name, but she had nothing to show for it, so she was convincing him to buy her a house. She was currently in a combined master's program which provided free housing, but had no intention of completing it. She was just doing it because her on-again off-again boyfriend was subsidizing her while she was still in school. Her plan was to wait until he bought her a house, drop out of grad school, secretly stop taking birth control, get pregnant, and then even if he broke up with her, she'd still get child support. It felt like a soap opera, and I never heard anything so calculated, especially knowing that this woman was smart enough to be in a master's program, but didn't know when to walk away from a really messy relationship. At a fair, I overheard a woman talking to her preteen child. "I'm so hungry I could eat the A out of a menstruating skunk." Listen, B, I might only have one arm, but at least I still got all of my teeth. Let's just put her up for adoption. It's not too late. So basically I heard my son's friends talking about my son, but they didn't notice I was next to them, and his friend Maximum said, "You know that Alex, my son, got bullied by Jeremy so bad that he decided to F Jeremy's brother, take pictures and show Jeremy." At that time I just froze. A week later, my son came out as gay, and I knew it was true. He doesn't know that I know about this to this day. Alex is actually quite the nerdy kid, which is one of the main reasons as to why I was surprised. My dad and his brothers were adopted as babies by my grandma and grandpa. Following my grandma's funeral, her sister said that my dad and his siblings weren't even blood, so they shouldn't get to keep any of my grandma's possessions. Driving a cab and pick up a couple from a pub. They were very into each other, practically standing dry hump in the taxi rank. I ask them where they want to go, and he rattles off an address for his place. We set out, and 5 minutes into the drive, she suddenly breaks from via tonsil hockey and asks him, "Wait a second, isn't your wife home right now?" He is shocked and acknowledges that yes, she is indeed at home and likely asleep. Asks if they can stop at her place. No good. Hubby is home too. Fast forward to us being parked at a local lover's lane. I'm waiting nearby having a smoke while they go wild in the backseat of the taxi. Yes, the meter was still running, And yes, I charged them the cleanup fee. Sorry, one more. In the mental sector of an yeah, so the overdose caused her to miscarry. We haven't told her yet because we don't know if she knew she was pregnant. Followed by a blood freezing wait about 5 to 10 minutes later. I guess she knew. Fine, shut up will you? Nobody wants to hear your sob story. Stranger to my friend, who just got the call that her mother had passed away in a car accident. Man to another man on the phone while I was getting a haircut. If you can't pay me up, send your daughter for 3 nights and consider it even. F'd my mind up for days, thinking about how the father might have felt at the other end. 20 years ago, when having a cell phone was a big thing, I was sitting outside the community college I was going to and having a smoke. This lady walked up, lit a cigarette, and started talking on her cell phone very loudly about an incredibly bad case of genital warts she was apparently suffering from. I was on the school shooters hit list which a teacher had found in a notebook in the library the student had left behind. The cops were called, and he was promptly expelled from school. He somehow still got into college and attends in the same state as I. Flash forward about 6 months into school. I'm sitting at the airport at my gate and someone leans over to me and gets my attention. Guess who? He proceeded to apologize for putting me on the list and that it was a joke. He said he had no intention of killing me. There was one other younger girl sitting at the gate across from me and probably heard that whole exchange. I can only imagine what she was thinking. Overheard while grocery shopping. Ugh, she's got a face like a Cabbage Patch doll left in the backseat of a hot car. I literally stopped in my tracks. Damn girl, that was cold. I've answered something like this here before. Sitting in a restaurant and hear some woman in another booth say once he got elected, he hired his family. That's illegal. It's necrophilia. Something in my brain broke that day. I'd really love to marry a girl and impregnate her by Christmas. Yeah, I think I'm gonna propose soon, just to keep her entertained. Both from the same acquaintance a couple months apart. He's married now. She said she slept with both of her own brothers repeatedly when very drunk to a large group of people. I used to drive for Uber part-time. Once I picked up a couple around midnight or so on a Thursday. They spent the entirety of the ride trying to decide what their story was going to be when they told their significant others what they were doing. I know in the grand scheme of things it is as effed up as others, but for me, I can't even wrap my head around that way of thinking, let alone just talk about it nonchalantly. I was in a rural Quiznos once and overheard 2 employees talking. They were both in college aged. One asked the other how it felt that her dad was getting married. She said it's weird cause I'm older than her. A mom telling her 13-year-old son she wished she would have swallowed. I just tested positive for COVID-19. Someone in public transport. Now that you're married, start having kids as soon as possible so the government will pay you. Heard this in a Target in San Diego, California. Change room at a hot springs. Mom and child are changing in the change stall beside me, and my child is wailing about wanting to go back in the hot springs with daddy. Mom is pissed and smacks her. I can hear it through the metal change room wall. Kid screams more and yells owie owie. Mom asks oh no, where does it hurt? I literally said loud enough, probably where you hit her. While in Paris, my wife and I joined a historical walking tour through the streets. When the guide announced and pointed out the statue of Joan of Arc, a woman yelled out loudly and called him an idiot, explaining to us all how this proved how stupid the French are. She then went on to tell us about how Jonah was a man who was swallowed by a whale, not some woman riding a horse. I took a speech class in college and randomly the teacher started ranting about how the Holocaust never happened and how it was a conspiracy prop by the government despite all the information that exists proving it didn't happen. At first we thought it was him showing some point about making speeches until it just kept going. A couple people spoke up and he dug in. Eventually the class got up and walked out. We had a new teacher next class. I was grocery shopping and a little girl maybe around 6 years old was upset and crying. Her dad was scolding her and then said, "You ruin everything," and started to walk away from the girl, who followed but was sobbing. It was heartbreaking. I was selected to travel to Europe for a high school level band representing my state. I'm American. In 2006 or 2007. And we visited probably 7 or 8 different countries over the span of 3 weeks. We usually had 1 or 2 educational type field trips each day. While in Germany, we went to Dachau. It was a very surreal experience for a multitude of reasons. However, I was shocked when I was touring one of the living quarters and overheard German speaking students. I was fluent in German, saying how nice and luxurious the bathrooms were and how lucky the prisoners had it. One time I was on a date, and this woman at a table next to us was talking about progressively more fed up stuff. We started to notice when she started talking about hard drugs like crack and stuff. Then she started talking about blood a lot, and then knife play, and doing really weird shit with blood. Then started talking about how they saw a goat get slaughtered and all this blood was all over. I think it got even weirder after that, but I can't remember exactly where it went. I just remember me and the girl I was with being really creeped out. This was kind of funny, but also sad, waiting in a really long line to vote in the US primaries. Apparently so many people showed up to vote that they ran out of those little "I voted" stickers. 2 women walking out together, grumbling about the lack of stickers, and one whined, "I know. What's the point of voting if you don't even get a sticker?" I worked for one of the largest litigation firms in North America at the time. They had very high level connections in the DC office. 2 partners got in the elevator talking about House of Cards, how it mirrors reality and literally is above criticism because if given power everyone on the planet would behave the same. Then they shifted to overpopulation myths in the same breath. No self-awareness at all. My blood was boiling. Quit that place 3x. Girls in college dining hall talking about having kids. One girl rants about how she is afraid of being a bad mom. This rant goes on until the quiet girl at the table says, "Quit with the lies. You only don't want to get pregnant because then you can't drink for 9 months." Me, in the main girls bathroom at school, doesn't have a class this hour, so taking my sweet time on the stair. *WALKS past a group of 5 girls sitting on top of the sinks. Skipping class because we only have male hall monitors and they are not legally allowed to check the girls' bathrooms for missing students. I sit down to do my business and they are talking about pregnancy and like I'm in high school. I'm a senior, but most of these girls looked like small children. Okay, they were obviously freshmen, MYBE sophomores, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening as one girl says, "Yeah, it's getting so irritating that my mom won't let me get pregnant, but like it's okay because she's a hoe, and she says that if she gets pregnant again I can raise it like it's mine." And her friends all MHM and "Oh yeah, that's a good idea," in agreement. And I'm sitting there in the bathroom stall trying not to start laughing at how abominably stupid that sounds. And they just keep talking about how they're also ready to be mothers and how they just can't have babies because their parents won't let them. In the public toilet, oh no, there's so much poop, followed by splosh squish noises and dry heaving, then the immortal words that made me nope out fast. I can't eat it all.